Second is transport. When reconstruction in Afghanistan starts, transport in Pakistan is going to become a nightmare because it's overrun already. I would like to see a new railroad line from Karachi to Kabul and extending to Central Asia. We have to think beyond. Third, of course, is the border. We have to be able to treat the Durand line not as a line of separation, but as a zone of cooperation. We should focus on how to develop complementary relationships along the entire line. Drugs cannot be eradicated from the area without coordination. Last but most important, of course, is that refugees cannot be repatriated in a short span of time. Anybody who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves. We have to coordinate as a workable program as to how to bring about gradual movement of refugees, Afghan refugees from here to Afghanistan, which means coordinated development. Of course, I would also like to see, to pose to the critics of the Afghan Muhajirs here, I'd like to ask them as to how would they see the price of land and housing in Peshawar after we've left, or in Quetta for that matter. You know, there's a lot of talk about what Afghans have done negatively, but the conditions that we sustain should not be forgotten. It requires both to look at them. Now, if we turn again to foreign aid in future, I would like to focus on two basic orientations. One, what not to do, and second, what I would like to see done. What I would not like to see done is creation of a state that is centralized by fear and becomes the source of distribution and thereby becomes a gain of personal accumulation. Anybody, if you take up the current structure of either PDPA or AIG, you're dealing with creation of 200 millionaires. Personalistic networks, everybody's brother and cousin is going to become a millionaire because their brother or cousin or nephew is in a position of power. Afghans did not fight the Soviets to get a new oligarchy. It's the ordinary Afghan that has fought this war to completion in victory. And it's the ordinary Afghan that is to become the beneficiary of aid that is going to come. Positively, first and foremost, I would like to see foreign aid underwrite institutional autonomy. Let me illustrate. The university in Afghanistan was not autonomous. All its professors, I was not a professor, I was a mere lecturer, were servants of the state. We drew our checks. Well, we were not given checks. We had not reached that point to be given checks. We were given cash from the state. I would like to see 5% of all the foreign aid in the first 10 years of the new Afghan regime underwrite a waqf. And I'm using the term waqf advisedly because that's what underwrote the Islamic learning in the past for the university. Journalism was another field, again, totally dominated by the state and under censorship. I would like to see something between 2 and 3% of all the foreign aid be devoted to another fund for underwriting a free press. Banking. Banking was taken over we are not going to be able to monitor the distribution of money through the hackneyed bureaucratic procedures that exist, and nothing has come to replace them. The only way that we can take account of the distribution, equitable distribution, and record it, trace it, would be through creating an overall series of banking that would be underwritten. The judiciary. If we are going to have a sense of justice, we have to underwrite the financial conditions for the autonomy of the judiciary, where they would be accountable. Women. Well, do you want separate and equal or separate and unequal? I have no problem with being separate and equal. Afghan women have fought valiantly. After all, if there were no Afghan women, there would be no Afghan men. I need to remind my male countrymen of that fact, that we could not give birth to ourselves. We need the species. Separate and equal, if that is what the culture wants, has to be underwritten by giving the women the institutional arenas that they're own. Women, after all, admirably run the women's schools and function and have managed. Of the managerial capacities of the Afghan women are legend. After all, if it were not for my grandmother, I would have never gone to school. She whipped me literally to go to school. And she ran a lot of men. And so on and so forth. I mean, I don't want to get to the details, but the point is that we need to get back to a different agenda of state and society relationship, where the state now becomes the organized power of society. How does it become the organized power of society? By managing information, by coordinating planning, by having an outlook where the flow of information gives it power, coordination between different parts. We have to decolonize our minds to an extent to be able to say no to the German model of bureaucracy. It works for the Germans, not for us. Came the wrong period of history. It's never worked here. And we should look beyond it. And that means managing information today requires a different outlook than this bureaucratized control. The last issue that I would touch, because I'm, of course, running over time, is the pattern of settlement. We had to talk on demography, so I'll take advantage of that. Our pattern of settlement was product of a history of exchange and production in warfare relationship that gave it its own peculiar characteristics. If we think through to the distribution of services, we should be able to think through of our major irrigation basins as in a coordinated manner and plan for development of rural areas and for secondary towns as the major sites to be financed. I would like to see, and I think it is possible, to see a movement of population away from Kabul rather than more to it. The trick would be how to create those conditions where people would benefit. In war, we've shown how to give our best. Peace calls for giving our best to reconstruct. But peace also means not thinking just in terms of Afghanistan, but in terms of the region at large, where we are located and where we are part. We can look to a dawn of a new era, provided those in power in Pakistan consider Afghan sovereignty as the basis of true cooperation. We are willing to cooperate, but to paraphrase a man not often paraphrased, Ayub Khan, we want friends, not masters. Thank you.